Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open in Atlanta, part of the SCG Tour. I'm Nick Miller alongside Ketter. How you doing, sir?
Good, Nick. Nice
Always
to see you.
Always good to have you in the sideboard here. Playing some creatures you have been known to play,
yes,
but in a new archetype.
Absolutely.
We've got Jeskai aggro here. You know, not your old, not your grandpa's Jeskai aggro either. We've got some new ones.
Yep.
First and foremost, Storm Chaser Mage. We've already seen this card pop up in the Blue-Eyed Prowess deck.
Yes.
We're seeing people talk about it in possibly Modern. But you have it here in Standard alongside newcomer Goblin Dark Dwellers. Ton of value off this card. And Menace is just a word that's kind of like sandwiched on that card. I don't think a lot of people realize that card has Menace too.
Could care less about it, but it's the best card in the set that you're probably not playing. Or best card in the set, period. We were talking about the set beforehand. Group chat, with the other guys on Lotus, and immediately pointed out Dark Dwellers, and everybody was just like, if we're not playing Dark Dwellers, you better have a fantastic, meaning rally or ramp reason why.
Right.
Dark Dwellers, while not the most aggressive of cards in the rest of the shell, is the glue that pulls the whole thing together.
All right, so you're this Jeskai shell. You've got the Black Splash, as most Jeskai decks do at this point. Crackling Doom, just too good not to have in your deck. Yep. And then, of course, you join Dark Dwellers and the Storm Chaser Mage along with Mantis Rider. No surprise there. And Jace, along with a ton of burn.
Yes.
That's the difference between this deck and these other Jeskai decks and the Jeskai Black decks we've seen. Take us through the burn suite here. A Wild Slash, Exquisite Firecraft, and full 4 of Jeskai Charm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, leading up to the tournament, we realized that, week one, be aggressive, or basically you want to be executing your plan, whatever it is, just pick it and do it. And when we started playing games, the realization was a lot of the Painful Truth decks, the rally decks, the ramp decks, they don't really interact with their own life total in a favorable way. Like once they've lost the life, that's it, it's gone. They've got 20 points. They don't really get back up very often. Rally is an exception occasionally, but it takes them a long time before they get that additional cleric recursion. With that in mind, trading 3 mana for 4 damage felt like an exceptional thing to do. And then when you got to round it out with Wild Slash, which everyone has forgotten about.
Yeah. Everyone's moving over to Fiery Impulse, but that can't go to the Dome. So.
Of course not. And then you top it all off with Crackling Doom, like the best burn tempo card I think I've seen in, long time. Right. When you get to Crackling Doom the Rhino and crack through with, your now 2/3 Storm Chaser Mage, the game feels pretty powerful.
Right, and I imagine you're trying to load up on all these very powerful 3 mana and less spells, because Dark Dwellers here, you get to flash them back.
He says 3 or less, but he really says 3. all the best instants and sorceries are 3s. So these were the ones that we thought were the best in conjunction with each other. Firecraft is definitely the one that a lot of folks kind of do the head tilt. But when you back it with the 4 Jeskai Charms, with Dark Dwellers, your cards along with Jace, all of your 4 damage spells get a second go around. So when they're dragging 8 damage out with some help from the rest of your deck, it's over 1/3 of the life total. Pretty great place to be.
A common theme in this deck is just ways to deal 4 damage, and you have quite a few of them between the Dark Dwellers, the Firecraft, and the Jeskai Charm, rebuying them again with Jace and the Dark Dwellers.
The biggest thing as well with Jeskai Charm is folks do not play around the other modes. Had an opponent who leaves his fetch land in play, runs out a Reflector Mage, end of his turn as he's passing to me, he's like, I guess I'll fetch. Let's Jeskai Charm that back in your deck, shuffle it away. Everyone had a good time, or at least I did.
Both teams played hard.
Yep, and then the 3 Treasure Cruise, because anytime you want to deal them 20 damage, you need cards. Treasure Cruise, you can get the turn 4 sequence of 3 mana spell, Treasure Cruise for cards back. And that's fantastic. Sometimes you lose the flashback, but you're going to draw another one.
Right. So we got the shell, we got the creatures, we got the spells, Treasure Cruise here to fill your hand up. But the most important thing I've noticed about this deck list, of course you have fetch lands.
Yes.
A full 4 Evolving Wilds. How can you do this?
Because the deck was built fast and loose, is played fast and loose, and Evolving Wild is the most theme-fitting card in the joke we've had running about the deck the entire time. The deck's great, the spells are fantastic, but you're asking to go blue, red, white, red, black, red, white, it's just a mess. Evolving Wild lets you play the bad Scalding Tarn and then go from there. Turn 1, you're not really doing much anyway, and while it's nice to play Jace on the 2 or play Storm Chaser on the 2, if your sequence is then like Mana Strider removal spell, Mana Strider removal spell, there are a lot of mid-range matchups where you don't even need to do anything on the 2.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you've taken the first 2 turns off to set up your mana, if what you're doing after that is powerful enough to make up for it.
And then when your 5-drop is recurring another 4 damage spell, like the numbers add up very quickly. And I just wanted to be pressuring people and letting them make mistakes.
Yeah, this deck just looks like a deck that's going to surprise someone when they're not ready to take 8 damage on a turn or whatever, when they're not ready to brace themselves for that much damage.
2 best situations, when they smile and tap out on turn 3 for Painful Truce, you smile even bigger. And then the other one that just really, it feels great is when they think you're Jeskai Black. Maybe you don't cast, but they're a little more, they're trying to race you, and then you just get to untap and deal them like 12. I had a turn 4 kill today in a Jeskai Mirror. He fetched a couple times, and I just ran guys into him, and it was, wrapped it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, this deck looks like it has pretty fast closing speed.
Yes.
We'll move on to the sideboard here, where you got a bunch of new cards as well.
Yeah.
Kozilek's Return, not a card you expect to see in an aggressive deck, but when you look at it, it only really kills 1 creature in your deck, and that's if Jace isn't flipped.
Yep. It does come in pretty much every time with Soulfire, but you're okay with taking that trade. Kozilek's Return plus Soulfire against a Tarka Red is like, we'll say 10, maybe 12 damage if they're really wide. That's more than enough for you to get the game back in order.
We're okay dealing with our own Soulfire if that's what's going to happen.
I will discard a 2/2 creature to have lifelink on my return. But then the rest of the cards on the sideboard are where you really just get to punish people.
Right. Hallowed Moonlight, Rally is everywhere.
Yes.
If there's anything I've noticed from just looking around the tables already after 3 rounds, you have to beat Rally or you're not going to win this tournament. So I assume that's coming in there. Any other situations?
Atarka. It comes in against Atarka as well. If they're the traditional Atarka with Hordling Outbursts, that's just a card that can be a little frustrating to deal with. We argue between how many Hallowed Moonlights come in there, but it's something we'll figure out in the next week or so as the sideboarding plans from other decks develop.
All right. Full 4 self-inflicted wound. You got to deal with these rhinos somehow, right?
100%. If I could build a main deck to beat an Abzan deck in the current format, I would cut the 4 Wild Slashes, main deck 4 self-inflicted wounds, and play nothing different. So we do that, and it's fantastic to have the entire Abzan X versions where my sideboarding plan is swap and just run them over.
Super clean, just take slash out, put in inflicted wound. And of course you got to read the bones here, you got to fuel back up, you got to one of. I think this deck can, this isn't Painful Truths, but I feel like you could have supported Painful Truths a little bit in this, your 4 Evolving Wilds
huge
deck.
Point to make. Goblin Dark Dwellers, read the bones, remember them, put them together, and then have a fantastic time. We actually really wanted the scry on it. For us, we want specific cards. We don't want a bulk of cards. I always assume the 3rd card off of Painful Truce is a land. In this case, I get to scry, not burn, and draw burn, and then hopefully run them over from there. But it really is just tying into like the belief that you're trying to play fast, loose, just get some people dead as quickly as possible. Read the Bones does a great job of tying into that. And it was kind of a debate between that and the 4th Cruise, and I wanted to be greedy and specifically point out why you're playing this and not Painful Truce.
Hey, some of us want to be greedy, okay?
You be greedy, but I want 4 total cards with my Dark Dwellers.
All right.
That's really what it's about.
All right, you sold me on it. Still going to try to play Painful Truth because I'm greedy like that.
Mix them together. It's okay, folks. 2/2's fine. No one's going to come at your house and ask you what you're doing. It's no problem.
You heard it here first.
Deep breath.
Well, the Jeskai deck looks really good. Looks very aggressive. Hope to see you dealing 8 and 12 points of damage in a turn. So.
As much as possible.
Kent, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
No problem.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Atlanta.